Hey guys, it's Luke here at AHLG. Today we're going to be going through a basic service on a push behind lawnmower. We're going to be going through changing the spark plug, changing the air filter, changing the oil, and also checking and replacing the blades. Let's get into it. First up, we're going to start off with the air filter. Air filter is very important to a small engine. Obviously you've got fuel and air being a massive component of what causes the power in the motor. If the air filter is dirty, it's not going to be able to suck enough air through into the engine. And also if it's really dirty or you have a gap in the air filter, you're going to suck dirt into your engine, which is going to cause irreparable damage. So to start off with, remove the nuts off the top cover. Your mower might be slightly different to this in design, but the principle is all the same. Cover off, old air filter off. You can blow these out with an air compressor just to remove all the loose dirt, and you can replace it and go from there. Today this one's fairly old, so we're going to chuck a whole new filter on. Slip straight on there like that. Make sure it seats nice and tight on the bottom. Your mower might have a cartridge, paper cartridge filter, something like that. Again, it's all the same principle, just make sure it sits on there nice and tight. Cover back on. Nuts back on. And just do the nuts up, just finger tight, that's all I need. That's step one done. Second thing on the checklist for our basic service is the spark plug. Spark plug is obviously important because it's what ignites the fuel. A dirty spark plug is going to cause misfires, you'll be down on power, makes it a bit harder cutting your lawn. First thing, remove the cap on your spark plug. You'll find on most lawnmowers the spark plug's generally at the front of the machine. We've got our socket just to loosen it off. From there you should be able to undo it with your fingers. And there's your spark plug. You can see there's quite a bit of carbon build up around the outside and on the tip. Compare that to a new one, obviously it's much cleaner. So with this old spark plug we can use a wire brush just to brush away that carbon and get it back to bare metal. In this case this plug's pretty old, so we're going to just replace it with a new one. Once it's threaded all the way down, just give it a quick nip up. Doesn't have to be super tight, and just cap back on. Job done. Step three, we're going to change the oil. Oil is important in any small motor, obviously because it keeps the engine lubricated, reduces heat, reduces friction. Low oil or old oil will obviously increase those things and again cause some pretty serious damage in the internals of your engine. So to get started, we're just going to drain the old oil out. You'll see it's pretty black because this oil is pretty old. Remove the oil filler cap. Again, your mower might be slightly different, same principle. We've got our drain sump on the bottom there. We're going to tip the machine up and let it drain out. So we use our 10W40 for our mowers. Check your manufacturer's specifications as to what is suitable for your mower. It's a good general purpose oil. Valvoline do a pretty good product. There's a lot of good oils out there. Do your research, find something that suits you and your machine. Something I forgot to mention at the start was we've actually ran this machine for a couple of minutes prior to emptying that oil. Just makes the oil a little bit warmer, a little bit thinner, gets it all out of the engine, makes it flow a bit easier into the drain. Once you've finished putting the oil in, let it sit for a minute so it settles to the bottom of the sump. Grab your dipstick, give it a wipe, pop it in. Don't thread it at all, leave it sitting there. Pull it out, and you can see the oil's right at the top of the mark there, which is about perfect. Thread it back on, finger tight, and it's job done. Alright, last step in our basic service is the blades. Blades, obviously one of the most important parts to cutting a lawn. You want it nice and sharp so you're not creating any tears in the grass. You want a nice clean cut. It prevents a lot of disease. It'll allow your grass to recover quicker from its cut and grow into a nice lush green lawn, which is what we're after. So to get started, we've got an impact drive. We find it a lot easier as opposed to a socket. With a socket you generally have to block the the blades so you can get a good purchase on it without them actually spinning. If you haven't got an impact drive, probably a good idea to take it to a specialist dealer and get them to replace it for you. But if you do have the right tools, let's get stuck in. So there's 2 bolts on this model. Which opens up our blade disc. This model has 4 blades. They're not in too bad order, to be honest, but for the purpose of this, we're going to be replacing them. Change to our different size socket. We'll undo all these nuts. If you wanted to with these blades, you could probably use a grinder just to bring that edge back slightly, get it sharp again, and then you could reuse them. Today, again, we're going to replace them. We're also going to be replacing the bolts. You can see already there's a bit of corrosion around the edge of these bolts. Because they sit in wet grass, a lot of the time they corrode quite quickly. So whenever you change the blades, good idea to do the bolts as well. Generally for your mower, you'll be able to get a lawnmower blade kit. They also sell blades individually if you just want to do the blades. Today we've got a kit which includes all the bolts and washers. It also has 2 high lift blades which have the high edge and 2 low lift blades, the lower edge. We generally discard the lower blades and add 2 more high lift blades. All that does is allows the grass to flick up higher and get into the back of your catcher a bit easier. We find generally with wet grass, thick grass, it just catches that little bit easier. It does put a bit more load on your mower, so be careful not to overload your mower. These HRU 216 Hondas, they're a contractor type of mower. They're generally designed to be able to absorb that sort of impact. So with the different washers and nuts and things on these blade assemblies, always refer to the specifications on your pack. Different blade setups have different layouts. Just make sure you get that right. If you don't, the blades might not swing back when they hit a rock, something like that. So always check the manufacturer's specifications. So now that we've got that assembled, tightened down to the correct torque, we can reassemble it. When you put it back on the disc, make sure, when you put the disc back on rather, make sure that it's centered. Often these have a little bit of play back and forth either way. Just make sure it's nice and centered. Obviously these are spinning quite quickly. If it's off center by a small amount, it makes quite a difference at that speed. You can see that's slightly off center compared to that center bolt, so we're just going to loosen it off again. Make sure it's nice and centered. Much better. Last thing's about the blades. So this is a new blade, you can see well intact. The old one, you can see it's been chewed out on the leading edge there. It also is dulled off around the front edge, and the back edge is starting to wear off a bit too. You'll find the leading edge is what causes that nice clean cut. Again, that high edge is what helps throw the grass into the back of the catcher. As that starts to pit out and flake away, again you'll lose that momentum into the back of the catcher. So they're the 2 areas that you really want to keep an eye on. As soon as they start wearing out, either grind them back a bit to get that edge again, or just replace it with a new one, much easier. So that's all for the service on our push behind lawnmower. Done the air filter, spark plug, changed oil, new set of blades. Should be good to go for a little while now. If you can do that semi-regularly, it'll go a long way to getting a lot more life out of your mower. A couple of other things as well. After each use, give it a good blow down. Just remove all that loose debris, any wet debris especially, because it just adds to the corrosion factor on your mower. If you can store it in a shed or indoors as well, again, it will just add to the long life of your machine. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another video shortly. Cheers.